The stars above the forest twinkled quietly, as if they had nothing to say. The small town of Elmsfield was already asleep, its people tucked into warm beds. But Jack Harrow, a single father and skilled mechanic, was still awake in his old wooden house on the edge of the forest. He sat at his workbench, wiping oil from his hands, while the sound of tools clinking filled the room. Jack wasn't just fixing machines tonight. He was thinking about his daughter, Lena, 10 years old, curious, smart, and always asking questions. She was upstairs, asleep, hugging the same teddy bear she had since she was a baby. Then, the sky tore open. A deafening boom rattled the windows. Tools fell from the shelf, and the ground shook under Jack's boots. Outside, the sky lit up bright. Blue Jack ran out of the workshop, heart pounding, and saw a glowing trail of fire streak across the sky. It crashed somewhere deep in the forest with another thunderous noise. Lena appeared behind him, rubbing her eyes. "Dad, what was that?" "I don't know," he said, grabbing his coat. "Stay here, okay? Lock the door. I'll be back soon." But I'll be fine." He grabbed a flashlight and climbed into his old truck. The headlights cut through the dark trees as he drove toward the crash. Smoke rose above the trees, glowing faintly green. It didn't look like anything normal. It wasn't a plane, not a meteor either. Jack's hands tightened on the steering wheel. After 15 minutes of bumpy forest driving, he saw a giant crater had been carved into the earth. Trees were knocked over like matchsticks. In the middle of the crater sat something impossible, metallic, curved, huge. A spaceship. Jack climbed out of the truck slowly, stepping over broken branches and hot rocks. The ship was unlike anything he had seen before. It looked smooth, silver, and slightly glowing. One side was torn open, showing flickers of blue light and strange cables. Then he heard something, a soft groan. Jack turned and saw her. A tall figure lay just outside the ship, half buried in dirt and glowing sparks. She was alien. Her skin was light purple, and her body was covered in a silver suit, cracked and sparking. Her hair was long and dark, and a strange mark glowed faintly on her forehead. "Hey," Jack shouted, rushing over. "Are you alive?" Her golden eyes opened, slowly. She tried to sit up but winced in pain. Jack hesitated only for a moment. He pulled her arm over his shoulder and lifted. She was heavier than a normal human, but not too much. Jack was strong, used to carrying car engines and heavy metal. "Don't worry, I've got you," he said, not sure if she even understood. He drove back carefully, checking the mirror every few seconds. The alien woman remained silent, eyes closed, breathing shallow. Jack wasn't a hero, he was just a dad with a toolbox. But something deep inside told him he had to help her. Back at the house, Lena stood at the door, wide-eyed. "Dad. Who is that?" Jack laid the alien woman gently on the couch in the workshop. "I don't know. She crashed in the forest. She's hurt. She's real, like in the books." "Yeah," Jack said, checking the cuts on her arms. "But she's not a story. She's bleeding." Lena watched in silence as Jack carefully cleaned her wounds and wrapped them. The alien suit was made of strange material, but some parts had melted and exposed her skin. She had bruises, cuts, and a long scratch on her side. Suddenly, a soft beeping sound came from a device on her wrist. A small blue light blinked, and a mechanical voice spoke in a slow, robotic tone. System damaged. Core failure. Language download. In progress. Jack blinked. Did she just say, language download? Lena's eyes widened. She's learning English. The alien woman groaned softly and opened her eyes again. This time her voice was clearer. Help. Ship. Broken. Need fix. "You're safe here," Jack said. "I can help with machines. Maybe not spaceships, but I'll try." She looked at him carefully, her golden eyes scanning his face. "You fix things?" "Yes, I'm a mechanic." She nodded slowly, then passed out again. For the next 2 days, Jack worked on the alien ship. He went back and forth between his barn and the crash site using his truck. The ship's parts were unlike anything he had ever seen: glowing cables, hovering panels, and a strange round engine that hummed even when powered down. But Jack wasn't just any mechanic. He had spent 20 years fixing everything from cars to old military drones. He didn't understand the tech, but he understood machines. He knew how they felt when they were working and when they were about to break. Lena stayed close to the alien woman, who was slowly healing. The wrist device helped her speak better each day. "My name is Zyra," she said quietly one evening, her voice now more fluent. "Thank you for not turning me in." "Why would I do that?" Jack asked, tightening a bolt on a strange Blue pipe. Others ... may fear me. Well, you haven't hurt us. That's good enough. Zyra stared at him for a long moment. You are strange ... human, Jack chuckled. You're not the first to say that. That night, as the stars returned and the forest grew quiet again, Zyra looked out the barn window. Lena was fast asleep on a pile of blankets nearby. Jack was working late in the corner, examining a glowing panel from her ship. Zyra's heart felt heavy, but also calm. She had expected death when her ship failed. She had not expected to find safety in the hands of a simple man and a curious little girl. She touched the mark on her forehead gently. It glowed for just a second, a reminder of who she truly was. She would not tell them, not yet. They didn't need to know she was Princess Zyra Valera Richest, royal in the galaxy, heir to the Valeri Empire, and target of a dangerous plot. Right now she was just Zyra the Traveler, and this quiet Earth mechanic might be the only one who could save her. Morning sunlight filtered through the gaps in the old barn roof. Birds chirped outside, but inside, the atmosphere was quiet and focused. Jack Harrow stood beside a workbench, wiping sweat from his forehead with a dirty cloth. He had been working since before sunrise, trying to understand the alien technology spread out in front of him, across the room. Zyra sat on a padded chair made from old car seats. Her tall figure was still healing, but her strength was returning. She watched Jack with calm, sharp eyes. You learn fast, Zyra said, her voice clearer now. The translator on her wrist had improved, and she could speak in simple English. Jack smiled slightly. Machines speak a kind of language. I just listen closely. Zyra raised one brow. This language is loud. Jack chuckled. Sometimes, Lena skipped into the barn with a plate in her hands. I brought breakfast. She handed Zyra a peanut butter sandwich and gave her dad a cup of black coffee. Zyra stared at the sandwich like it was a strange object from another planet, which, in a way, it was. You don't have to eat it, Lena said kindly. But I made it myself. Zyra took a small bite. Her eyes widened. Sweet, strange ... but good. Lena beamed. Later that day, Jack and Zyra stood near the ship's engine core, which now sat on a metal platform in the barn. The core glowed a soft blue and hummed faintly. Jack had removed the broken fuel regulator and replaced it with a homemade stabilizer, using parts from an old water pump and a microwave transformer. This part, Zyra said, pointing to the modified piece. It should not work, Jack shrugged. But it does. Zyra looked impressed. Human skill is more than I expected. Jack gave a modest smile. We do okay. She tilted her head. Why help me, Jack Harrow? You do not know me. Jack paused. Because I saw someone who was hurt. I have a daughter. If she was lost and injured, I'd want someone to help her too. Zyra didn't respond right away. She looked at the ship. Her eyes softened. You are different, she finally said. Jack glanced at her. So are you. Over the next few days, the bond between the small family and their alien guest grew stronger. Lena taught Zyra simple things: how to use the microwave, how to play checkers, and even how to watch cartoons on the old TV. Zyra, in return, told stories of faraway stars, floating cities, and giant space creatures that swam through gas clouds. One night, as they sat around a fire pit outside, Zyra shared a story about a brave warrior who saved an entire moon from pirates. Was that warrior you? Lena asked. Zyra smiled gently. Maybe. Jack sipped his coffee, looking at her with growing curiosity. You're not just any traveler, are you? Zyra didn't answer. She stared into the fire, while life at the barn became peaceful. Trouble was brewing elsewhere. In a nearby town, strange men in black suits arrived. They worked for a secret government group that monitored unusual activity. The crash had been seen by satellites. Energy readings from the site were not normal. Now, they were looking for answers. One of the agents, a cold man named Grayson, stood in the forest near the crater. He examined the strange marks in the soil, the heat signature, the twisted trees. This was no meteor, he said. No signs of survivors. Another agent asked. Grayson narrowed his eyes. Someone took whatever landed here. Find out who. Back at the barn, Jack continued his work on the ship. He installed a new cooling system using an old fridge unit and added circuit lines made from copper wiring. Zyra watched with silent admiration. In her world, machines were repaired by trained engineers using high-grade tools. But this man, with his simple tools, grease-stained hands, and clever thinking, was doing the impossible. You make ship. Breathe again, she said softly. Jack looked at her. Let's hope she flies too. Zyra placed a hand gently on the ship's outer panel. She will, because of you. Later that afternoon, Lena came running into the barn. Dad, a black car is outside. 2 men in suits. Jack froze. He wiped his hands and looked at Zyra Hyde. Now, Zyra quickly moved behind a large curtain in the corner, where tools and spare parts were stored. Lena sat at the workbench and acted like she was drawing. Jack stepped outside just as the men approached. Mr. Hero, one of them asked. Yeah, we're with a federal investigation team, said Agent Grayson, showing a badge. There was a meteor crash nearby. Strange energy readings. We're checking with locals. Did you see or hear anything unusual? Jack kept his face calm. Heard a loud boom. Thought it was thunder. I didn't go check. Mind if we take a look around your property? I do. Mind you got a warrant? Grayson frowned. No, just a request. Then my answer is no. I've got a kid here. Don't want her scared. The men exchanged glances. If you do notice anything odd, call us. I will, Jack lied. The agents left, but Jack's worry didn't. That night, after Lena was asleep, Jack sat with Zyra in the workshop. The ship's engine core glowed steadily now. It was almost ready. Your enemies, are they still searching for you? Jack asked. Zyra looked serious. Yes, they want me captured, or worse. Why? She hesitated. I cannot say, not yet. Jack nodded slowly. I'm not sure how much longer I can keep them away. Zyra looked at him. You have done more than enough. Jack leaned back. I fix things. That's what I do, but this is bigger than anything I've ever faced. Zyra stood and walked to him. She looked down, eyes glowing gently in the low light. You are strong, Jack Harrow. Not just in body, in heart. Jack smiled, a little awkwardly. Thanks. I guess that means a lot, coming from a space warrior. She chuckled softly. Yes, it does. The next morning Zyra stepped outside and activated a device from her suit. A small hologram flickered above it, an emergency signal. It blinked twice, then faded. What was that? Jack asked. A call, she said. To my people. If they are close, they will come. Jack nodded. I hope they get here before those agents come back. Zyra looked at him, her face serious. If they come again, I will protect your home. Jack stared at her. No. I protect my home. You just worry about getting your ship flying. They looked at each other for a moment. Then Zyra nodded. With quiet respect, deep in space, a fleet received a signal. A red mark lit up on the main screen. Princess Zyra's beacon has activated, said the commander. The captain stood quickly. Prepare the jump drive. We're going to Earth. The sky over Elmsfield was quiet again, but something had changed. Jack Harrow stood outside his barn, arms crossed, eyes on the clouds. Inside the barn, Zyra checked her ship's power core one more time. It was working better than anyone could have expected. With each adjustment, the ship grew stronger, just like her. Lena sat on a pile of blankets nearby, watching her alien friend work. Zyra, she asked, where do you really come from? Zyra looked at her far away. A place called Viewership Prime. It is a planet full of towers made from crystal. The sky is golden at sunset, and the oceans glow at night. Sounds beautiful, Lena said dreamily. It is, Zyra replied. Softly. Jack entered the barn, wiping his hands on a towel. Ship looks ready. I tested the stabilizers again. It might not fly across the galaxy, but it'll at least get off Earth. Zyra nodded. That is enough. Jack looked at her, then finally asked what had been on his mind for days. You said people were chasing you, and that you couldn't tell me why, but I think I deserve to know now. Zyra stood straight. Her glowing eyes met his. She seemed quiet for a moment, then finally spoke. My name is Zyra Valeri. I am not just a traveler. I am the Princess of Viewership Prime, the only daughter of the High Queen. My family rules over 5-star systems. I am ... very well known where I come from. Jack blinked. You a real princess? Yes, he laughed. Not out of mockery, but in disbelief. So I've been patching up a royal starship using duct tape and junkyard parts. Zyra smiled. And you did a better job than most of my engineers. Lena's eyes widened. That means you're the richest alien in the galaxy. Probably, Zyra said gently. Jack let out a long breath. Wow. As the truth settled between them, something else was happening far above Earth. A sleek, silver starship exited hyperspace and entered orbit. It belonged to the Royal Valeri fleet, the commander on board. Captain Revik stood at the front window and stared down at the blue planet. Signal came from that forest region. Prepare a landing pod, he ordered. Zyra's people had come for her. Meanwhile, Agent Grayson and his team returned to the forest. This time they had stronger scanners. They moved slowly through the trees, watching for any signs of alien life. One of the agents picked up a new energy reading. Sir, this way, strong source of off-world power. Grayson followed. It led them close to Jack's land. Back at the barn, Jack was packing tools into a box. If your people are coming, he said, you'll need to be ready. To launch, Zyra nodded. I sent the beacon 2 days ago. They should be here soon. Suddenly, a deep hum filled the air. Jack looked up, so did Zyra. Even Lena stopped drawing and ran to the barn door. A bright silver pod was descending from the sky. It hovered above the field and landed gently behind the barn. The ship opened with a hiss of steam. Out stepped 3 armored aliens, tall, glowing, and powerful looking. Princess Zyra, one of them called. We have come for you. Zyra stepped forward, standing tall. Welcome, Captain Ravik, she said. I am well. The captain nodded. We feared you had fallen. The royal court awaits your return. Jack stood to the side, watching the scene unfold. He felt proud, but also a little sad. He had helped her, protected her, and now, she was going back to her real world. Ravik looked at Jack with suspicion. This human, did he harm you? Zyra stepped between them. He saved me, repaired my ship, protected me. Ravik seemed surprised. A mechanic, a hero, Zyra said. Lena hugged Zyra tightly. Will you come back someday? Zyra knelt down and smiled. Yes, I promise. Jack offered a handshake. It was an honor, but Zyra did not shake his hand. Instead, she stepped forward and hugged him. Thank you, Jack Harrow, she whispered. You did more than fix a ship. You reminded me what trust feels like. Jack's voice was low. Be careful out there. Zyra stepped back, her golden eyes shining, but just as she turned to board the royal pod, a loud bang came from the forest. Trucks and black SUVs crashed through the trees. Agents jumped out. Armed men surrounded the barn. Federal agents, Grayson shouted. Step away from the ship. Jack raised his hands. No, wait, don't do anything. Ravik and the other aliens raised energy shields. Zyra stepped between the two groups. No one attacks. Stand down, Grayson pointed. That woman is not human. She's a threat. She is royalty, Ravik said coldly. And you are trespassing on royal ground. This is Earth, Grayson snapped. Not anymore, said, holding up a small glowing orb. It projected a hologram of a peace symbol between Earth and Valeri Prime. This planet is now under diplomatic contact. Any attack on me is a declaration of war. Grayson hesitated. The other agents looked unsure. This was beyond their orders. Jack stepped forward. She's not dangerous. She's peaceful, and she's leaving. Grayson's jaw tightened, but then, slowly, he lowered his weapon. Let her go. Zyra looked at Jack one last time. Farewell, Earth, farewell, my mechanic. She entered the pod. The engines powered up. In seconds, it rose into the air and disappeared into the sky. The agents left soon after, confused and angry, but with no one to arrest. Jack walked back into his barn. The ship was gone. The tools were still there. The memories to Lena hugged him. Do you think she'll come back someday? Jack looked at the stars. Yeah, I think she will. But even if she didn't, he would never forget her. The tall alien princess who crash-landed in his backyard, changed his life, and flew away with part of his heart. 3 weeks had passed since the silver pod disappeared into the sky, taking Princess Zyra back to the stars. Jack Harrow stood in the barn, looking at the empty spot where her ship used to sit. The tools were all packed. The strange glowing blueprints were stored in a wooden box under lock and key. Life had returned to normal, or at least, it looked like it from the outside. But inside, everything felt different. He missed her. Lena missed her too. She still drew pictures of Zyra flying through the stars, wearing her glowing armor and saving distant worlds. She kept one picture pinned to the wall near her bed, Zyra holding her hand under a golden sky. One morning, Jack was fixing a broken water pipe behind the house when he heard Lena shouting from the front porch. Something's glowing. In the sky, Jack dropped the wrench and ran. Above the hill near the barn, a bright shape floated in the air, small, golden, and quiet. It looked like a star, but it moved like a bird. It slowly came down and stopped 10 feet above the ground. Then it gently lowered itself and landed in the grass. Lena gasped. It's a message orb. Jack had seen something like it inside Zyra's ship. He walked over carefully. The orb lit up and opened. A small hologram appeared above it. Zyra. Her image stood tall, her armor shining with royal patterns. Jack Harrow, the hologram, spoke. I have not forgotten you. I promise to return, and soon I shall, but I need your help once more. I cannot say much in this message. Enemies watch, but you are the only one I trust. I have sent you coordinates. Come if you can. You will know what to do. The message ended. The orb closed, leaving behind a small chip glowing with blue light. Lena looked up at her dad. Are we going? Jack nodded slowly. We're going. Jack knew someone who could help him fly. His old friend Benny was an ex-military pilot who now flew delivery drones. He owed Jack a favor from way back when. By evening, Benny had arranged a small private jet, and Jack had packed the essentials, tools, maps, a portable battery kit, and a backpack full of leaner snacks. They flew through the night. The coordinates led them to a remote island in the Pacific Ocean marked on most maps. From the sky it looked like nothing but trees and sand. But as they landed on the beach, something unexpected happened. The sand shifted. A large metal door opened beneath a hill, revealing a glowing ramp. Lena whispered, "Whoa." They stepped inside. Beneath the island was a hidden space dock, built long ago by an ancient race Zyra had told Jack about once the builders. The place was old, yet the machines still worked. Blue lights glowed along the walls, and quiet hums filled the air. In the center of the dock stood a half-built spaceship. It looked sleek, fast, an alien, but it was missing many parts. Panels were open. Power lines hung loose. Beside it stood a small device. Jack picked it up. It displayed a message. "Build this ship. You have 2 days. I trust you." Jack smiled. "She really trusts me." Lena tugged at his sleeve. "We'll help." Jack got to work. For 2 days, Jack worked harder than ever. He slept only a few hours, drank cold coffee, and barely stopped to eat. He used parts from storage rooms hidden across the dock. He rewired the engines, adjusted the gravity drive, and reprogrammed the navigation system. Lena helped sort parts and held lights when it got dark. She even drew helpful diagrams in crayon. On the second night, as Jack tightened the last bolt on the stabilizer, a soft chime echoed through the dock. A message appeared in the air. "Incoming royal pod." A bright light filled the chamber. The roof opened, and down came Zyra's personal pod. Landing with grace. She stepped out. Jack stood there, covered in oil and sweat, but smiling. "You came," he said. "I said I would," she replied. They stood in silence for a moment, just looking at each other. Then Zyra turned serious. "I need this ship. It is faster, smaller. My enemies cannot trace it easily." Jack pointed at it. "It's ready. You built it in 2 days." "With help," he said, glancing at Lena. Zyra smiled at the girl. "You are a good engineer." Lena giggled. "I made drawings." Suddenly the dock lights blinked red. Zyra looked up. "They found me." "Who?" Jack asked. "My cousin," Zyra said, eyes sharp. "He wants the throne. He sent spies to follow my message. I thought they might come." From outside, engines roared. Jack ran to the entrance and saw small fighter ships landing on the beach. Zyra grabbed her staff. "Get Lena inside the ship. Now." Jack picked up his daughter and ran to the craft. He strapped her into the passenger seat. Zyra stood at the ramp, guarding them. A blast hit the side wall. The building shook. "Go," Zyra shouted, but Jack didn't want to leave her. "We can fight them off," he said. She looked at him sadly. "No, if I stay, they follow me. You must take the ship." But Zyra stepped close. "You once said if your daughter was in danger, you'd want someone to help her. Now you must help me protect your own." Jack clenched his fists. Then nodded. Zyra kissed Lena on the forehead. "Stay brave." Then she turned to Jack. "Take her home. I will finish this." Zyra stepped out to face the enemies alone. The ship's engines roared to life. Jack flew it through the opening, ceiling, and into the sky. The ship was faster than anything he'd ever flown. He looked back at the island. Explosions lit the trees. Zyra fought with her glowing staff, pushing back attackers. She looked like a warrior queen. Jack whispered, "Be safe, princess." Then he flew away. Back in Elmsfield, Jack landed the ship in the same old barn. He covered it quickly with tarps and tools. No one would know what it really was. Lena curled up on the couch. "Do you think she's okay?" Jack nodded slowly. "She's stronger than she looks." They sat there in silence, waiting. 1 week later, just as the sun was rising, a soft hum filled the air. Outside the barn, the silver pod returned. Zyra stepped out, bruised, tired, but alive. Jack ran to her. She smiled, tears in her glowing eyes. "I kept my promise," she said. Jack didn't speak. He just hugged her. The early morning mist rolled over Elmsfield. Birds chirped softly, and the wind moved gently through the trees. But inside Jack Harrow's barn, everything was far from normal. Zyra, princess of Valeri Prime, had returned. Her silver pod was parked beside the ship Jack had built. She stood near the tool bench, dressed in simple clothes instead of her shining armor. Her eyes, still bright with a golden glow, were filled with something deeper than royal pride, something warmer. Jack poured coffee into 2 mugs and handed her one. "You look tired," he said. "I am," she replied, "but peaceful now." They sat in silence for a while, watching Lena draw more starships in her notebook. Zyra finally spoke. My cousin's forces were defeated. The royal guards arrested him after he tried to invade another allied planet. I returned to Valeri Prime, only to hand over evidence. I left soon after. You're not staying there? Jack asked. Zyra looked down at her mug. It never felt like home after meeting you both. Jack was quiet. The thought of her staying on Earth felt both exciting and complicated. A princess, he said slowly. Don't you have royal duties? She smiled softly. I've done my duty. I've saved my people. Now, I want to live as myself, not as a symbol. Just ... as Zyra. Lena suddenly ran over, holding up her notebook. Look, I drew you as a superhero. Zyra laughed. I love it. You're fighting bad guys in space and riding a robot dog, Lena explained. Zyra nodded seriously. That sounds accurate. They all laughed. But deep down, Jack knew something had to be discussed. He walked outside, and Zyra followed him. The sun was rising. It painted the sky with pink and orange colors. Jack took a breath. You're welcome to stay here, but people will ask questions. You're taller than everyone. You glow in the dark, and your ship's still in the barn. I can hide, Zyra said. I have cloaking tech. He looked at her. But should you have to hide? Is that what you want? She was silent for a moment. Then she said, I don't want to rule a planet. I don't want thrones or guards. But I also don't want to bring danger to your life again. We've already been through the worst, Jack said. I can handle it. So can Lena. Zyra smiled. You are both stronger than you know. Later that evening, a message came through Zyra's pod. It was from her mother, the High Queen of Valeri Prime. A hologram of a tall, graceful woman appeared in the air. Her voice was calm and full of power. My daughter, I see now what matters. To you, I have watched your journey from afar. You have done well, not just as a royal, but as a person. You have brought honor to your name. Zyra stood tall, even in front of the recording. But I must ask, the Queen continued, will you return to your place beside me, or choose a life far from your throne? The message ended. Zyra sat quietly. Jack sat across from her. Lena played nearby, humming a tune. It's your choice, Jack said gently. No one can make it for you. Zyra nodded. I always knew my journey would end with a decision. Now I see. Maybe it's not the end. Maybe it's the beginning. The next morning Zyra walked out of the barn wearing her armor for the last time. The golden metal shimmered as the sun touched it. She stood beside her pod, which had been cleaned and powered up. Jack and Lena stood nearby. Not forever, but I must speak to my people, face my family, and tell them I choose my own path. Then I'll return if you'll have me. Jack looked at her. Of course. Lena hugged her tightly. Will you come back before my birthday? Zyra smiled. I'll try. They watched her enter the pod. The engines began to glow. Hey, Zyra, Jack called before she left. If you ever decide to stay, I'll clean out the guest room. Zyra laughed. And I'll bring space cake. The pod lifted off and shot into the sky. Jack and Lena waved until it was gone. Weeks passed. The world spun as usual, but Jack's days felt a little quieter. He repaired tractors, helped neighbors, and cooked dinner every night for Lena. But every time he looked at the stars, he thought about her. One evening, while watching the sunset, from the porch, a strange sound filled the air. Not loud, just a gentle hum. Jack smiled. He knew that sound. A new pod landed softly behind the barn. But this time, it wasn't just Zyra. 3 aliens stepped out behind her. Valeri diplomats. Zyra walked forward, wearing simple travel clothes and a new necklace with the Valeri royal symbol. I've returned, she said. Jack stepped forward. Alone? She nodded. Yes, with permission. The diplomats approached and handed Jack a glowing document. This is a treaty, Zyra explained. You helped save the heir of Valeri Prime. For that Earth has been marked as a protected world. No Valeri enemy can approach without facing consequences. Jack blinked. I just fixed a ship. You changed a life, Zyra said. That matters more. From that day forward, Jack, Lena, and Zyra built a new life together. Zyra helped repair Earth tech using alien knowledge. Jack taught her how to grill burgers and fix fences. Lena taught her how to play video games and sing Earth songs. The barn became more than a place for tools. It was a meeting point between two worlds. Sometimes other ships came quietly at night, visitors or peaceful aliens with questions. Jack helped where he could. Zyra stood by his side. And at night, under the stars, they sat on the porch as a family looking up at the sky they once traveled through separately. Now together.